I am sick of being terrified of being a woman on public transport. So wrote Emmy Harrison West, a freelance journalist and metro.co.uk platform columnist, on the 7th of June 2022. My name is Karen Lejeune, and I'm a senior lecturer in the Department of Construction Economics and Management in the Engineering and Built Environment faculty here at UCT. Here in Africa, women are the largest users of public transport. Mostly they use it to travel to and from work, allowing them to be economically active. Yet safety and personal security concerns and limited access to reliable transport are major obstacles for South African women. So what if, through the implementation of a few new technologies and interventions, we can align with the rhetoric of long-term policy objectives and enhance the safety and security of public transport for female passengers now, in real time, when it matters. Public transport is not gender neutral. The way in which women and men need or use public transport is different. Their choices heavily influenced by societal issues such as religious beliefs, cultural habits, crime and harassment. Public transport can be considered a mainline artery that connects many sustainable issues, from social injustice to economic poverty to ecological depravity. Globally, the worsening deficiencies in public transportation, infrastructure and services is receiving attention by organizations such as the World Bank and the World Resources Institute. Many aligned organizations have acknowledged that more women need to be included in the transport sector as operators, drivers, engineers, and leaders, that holistic changes need to be made in transport planning and policy, that it's not just about the transportation hardware, but the facilities and services associated with the sector. So how does South Africa stack up? Like any other developing country, the population growth and therefore the mobility demands of the populace are outstripping the supply of public transportation. According to Stats SA's General Household Survey in 2017, 91 out of every 100 individuals classified as low-income earners rely on public transport, where 6% use trains, 24% use buses, and 62% use minibus taxis. While South Africa has emerged from the post-apartheid era with much baggage and challenges, it also boasts with a plethora of laws and policies that spell out the dream of equality for all. Unfortunately, the implementation of equal opportunities for the majority of women remains words on paper. Let's look at the infrastructure. South Africa has an aging road network which has exceeded its design lifespan. Heavy traffic volumes in, around, and between urban metropoles have contributed to the deterioration of the road infrastructure, exacerbated by poor maintenance regimes and budget or funding constraints. The geopolitical landscape of South Africa also means that the distances between urban and rural communities are vast, necessitating the use of the road network. The lack of integration between various road users also contributes to excessive road use. Once again, South Africa does not lack the will to change the transportation policies. Strategy documents such as the National Land Transportation Transition Act of 2009 are proof of this. It just lacks the ability to implement changes, further compounding the problem. The South African rail network, the 14th longest in the world and representative of 80% of Africa's rail infrastructure, is significantly worse off as a result of abandonment in some aspects and sheer neglect overall. It is barely functional as a public transport entity. The Gautrain, Africa's first high-speed rail service and a flagship development, is not affordable for the majority of commuters. Next, let's focus on the modes of transport. By far, minibus taxis are the most popular mode of transport, and despite many efforts of the government, is severely challenged by unregulated operators. The unroadworthiness of the minibus taxis and poor driving skills of the drivers have been the prime cause of road deaths in South Africa. Public bus fleets are aging and poorly maintained vehicles dog this sector as well. Trains, whether metro or long haul, are overdue for upgrades. Before discussing the commuters, it's worth touching on the operators. The minibus operators, legal or rogue, are forever at war with each other over lucrative routes, and passengers are all too frequently caught in the crossfire. The bus operators, whether run by public entities or private entities that are heavily subsidized by the government, a policy that dates back to the apartheid era, regularly cut corners for the sake of making more money at the expense of their commuters' safety. Mis- and malmanagement are but a few reasons why the coffers of the state-owned rail agency are empty and unable to provide a decent, safe service for commuters. Finally, let's chat about those who risk their lives using public transport. For every 10 women queuing to catch a bus, a minibus taxi, or standing on a platform to catch a train, 8 of those women are in a state of high anxiety, fearing harassment while using public transport. Day in and day out, they worry about being pickpocketed, stalked, mugged, verbally or physically abused, and or sexually assaulted. Is it any wonder public transport is failing more than 50% of the population? The research carried out among 1,234 female commuters during the last week of the month of May at 15 major public stations in Gauteng confirmed that they frequently use public transport to and from home and work or an educational institution. The choice of public transport had a lot to do with transport fares, with the safety from accidents being another major considering factor. How long the journey would take, how accessible and reliable their choice of public transport would be, were secondary deciding factors. The respondents sadly corroborated the safety and security concerns of women in other studies, indicating insecurity about all aspects of their journey: getting to and from the departing or arrival station or stop, waiting at the departing or arrival station or stop, using facilities at the station or stop, and travelling in or on the bus, minibus or train. When asked what innovations, actions and or technologies the respondents thought could make a positive change in their journey, most were in favour of intensive public awareness programs, installation of surveillance equipment, and improved lighting en route to and from their stops. The deployment of more security guards, use of panic alarms, potentially segregating male and female travellers, and encouraging the employment of more female staff was seen as lesser effective yet essential ways to endear a sense of safety to female transport users. Alan G. Johnson suggested in his book, published in 2005, entitled The Gender Knot: Unraveling Our Patriarchal Legacy, that poverty has been feminized because the current systems have failed to recognize that women make up half the world's population, perform 2/3 of the world's working hours, yet receive 1/10 of the world's income and only own 1/100th of the world's property. Imagine, therefore, if the 30% of women of South Africa, who make up 51% of the population, who are said to be excluded from both low and highly skilled professions and business leadership positions, were able to safely and securely travel to and from work opportunities, what a difference it would make to them, their families, their communities, their country, their world.